Welcome back to my channel. My name is Keely, and today you're in for a special treat. I am here interviewing Dr. Nick from Atlanta Physical Therapy, and we are going to discuss Diastasis Recti. Now, as you already know, I have a Diastasis Recti repair plan. The video is on this channel, and I have the guide linked below the video. Me and Dr. Nick are going to discuss ways that you can help yourself at home, and we're going to discuss reasons why you should go see a physical therapist. All right, I'm going to let Dr. Nick introduce himself and tell us a little bit more about you.
No, thank you for the introduction. First of all, I've never been referred to as a special treat, so that was a special treat for myself, as a matter of fact. I am Dr. Nick. I am a physical therapist, as Keely had mentioned. And I practice men and women's pelvic health as well as sports medicine. I started out in New York. I started out with sports medicine before I got into pelvic health, and just kind of traveled around the Northeast trying to establish myself in my niche as a sports medicine and men and women's pelvic health specialist and bridge that gap, and eventually just kind of moved down to Atlanta, Georgia.
All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. What exactly is Diastasis Recti anyway?
So Diastasis Recti, or recti as I say it, we were just discussing how you pronounce it, and we landed on there's no right way. So Diastasis Recti is a splitting of the middle part of your abdomen. So if you think about the six-pack when you look at maybe like bodybuilders and stuff, right? They have the lines that go across, and they have the line that goes down the middle to make up those six little pieces. That one in the middle, when it starts to split, it stays attached. It just stretches really far. That is known as diastasis recti, and we measure it. The way we measure it is by saying how many finger widths apart it is from one piece of the six-pack to the next piece of the six-pack, and then how far up and down it goes.
Nice.
So that's what a diastasis recti is. It's really just the splitting of that middle part of the six-pack.
So is it always split? Is it always split in the middle? Can it be split, at the top, at the bottom? Like, how do you know?
It can be anywhere along that, from the bottom of your sternum here all the way to your pubic bone.
Oh, wow.
So it can be anywhere along that, or even the entire way.
Wow.
And it can protrude too. I mean, I think from following you that you have some experience, right?
Yes, definitely. So I specifically tell my moms to avoid planks and crunches, because when you're holding a plank, your abdomen seems to cone, and mine coned after I had a baby, because your abs are split apart and that area just kind of hangs. And the same thing with the sit-up. When you'd sit up and crunch, your abdomen would create this kind of cone-looking thing. But who is usually affected by diastasis recti?
Anyone and everyone.
Wow.
Yeah, men and women. So your moms, I don't know why you have so many mothers, but just kidding. But moms, dads, actually will also get them, and I work with a good deal of both.
Okay.
And we think women, because the common thing is that women get pregnant, the belly expands, and actually it's a very natural occurrence.
Yeah.
So the middle part is actually designed in nature to split, to accommodate the baby.
Nice.
Because we don't want it to get squished by those rock hard abs. So it's actually supposed to happen, but when we're done, when the baby is not in the womb anymore, it is supposed to recoil and come back. And if it doesn't, there are ways, like through your program that I've looked at, which looks great, to help bring it back together. And then I mentioned men. Usually you'll see it in men who are of an aging population, because we find that, or just constipated. So we think increased pressure, I know, constipation, I didn't think we were gonna go there. But the increased pressure in the abdomen from pushing down so much will wind up leading to a similar push. And if it happens long enough over a long period of time, it eventually splits the abdomen, and men will start to see that cone. And you also see it, as I mentioned, the aging population, because they hold their breath because they're getting weak, their core is getting weak, and they go from their bed trying to sit and stand up, and their core isn't holding them, so they brace by holding their breath, and that constant pressure. So
and
everyone.
I talk a lot about breathing on my page as well, and how to properly brace, and you're not supposed to be holding your breath when you brace. But I do want to go back to one piece you said about pushing. And the common theme now that I see between men and women is women are pushing out a baby and men are pushing out other things.
What things do we talk about?
Other things are being pushed out of men. But so women are delivering babies. So would you say that while they're delivering the baby, that could lead to diastasis recti, or not help create it, but kind of agitate that area more?
I could see how it could have something to do with it.
Okay.
And birthing techniques are generally to help decrease those complications.
Right.
So whether it's lying on your back, or having your delivery in a bathtub, or being on all fours, which is the gold standard for not tearing.
Right.
Not the diastasis recti, but
other
bits.
Yes.
So yeah, you're right. Pushing could potentially lead to more.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So, in essence, what does diastasis recti, the splitting of your abs, how does that correlate to your pelvic floor?
Correlates almost directly.
Really?
Yeah. Diastasis recti. I'm just kidding. That's a bad joke.
My goodness.
Sorry guys. but yeah, it's like the way I put it is it's a cone. Not a cone, a cylinder. Think of your abdomen as a cylinder. Okay. And the front of the cylinder is where that diastasis is, your six-pack.
Exactly.
And the bottom, your pelvic floor, is the bottom of the cylinder.
Okay.
Then you have the top, which would be your lungs.
Okay.
So they all like to work very well together to make sure that the organs are moving correctly, whether it's in the abdomen or in the pelvis, or even in your lungs.
Right.
Hence the breathing, right?
Right.
So they are, directly connected. And it's so great that you, in your program, focus on breathing, because it's not just going to help the diastasis recti, but the pelvic floor too. Excellent. Multifaceted.
Excellent. So I think Dr. Nick is saying your diaphragm, your transverse abdominis, that invisible corset, your pelvic floor, and those front abs are all connected, so that when you're doing your diaphragmatic breathing, you're inhaling, raising your shoulders, expanding your lungs, and releasing your pelvic floor. They're all working in conjunction, and that cylinder expands together. And when you want to compress that cylinder, that's when you squeeze that pelvic floor, you squeeze your abs back together, and you push the air out of your lungs so that it compresses it. Does that sound?
Sounds great.
Okay. Awesome. So I give my program, my diastasis recti repair program, but let's say a mom has completed the program and she just cannot figure out how to fix her diastasis recti on her own. Is this when she would come to see you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Awesome.
And there is really good evidence for closing diastasis recti significantly with physical therapy techniques.
Awesome.
That we do. And I do work with a lot of, like I said, men and women. And they come in and they also have secondary things that are going on too. So maybe they have back pain as well. So we're working on everything at that point. But we do find that once the diastasis recti closes, a lot of that stuff starts to correct itself.
Sounds like it's all connected.
I know. Let's speak the truth.
It sounds like everything is related. Sometimes women experience painful sex, and is this an attribute of diastasis recti as well?
It can be.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it depends. I couldn't say that having diastasis recti will lead to that, or necessarily was the cause of it.
Right.
But it is something that we definitely look at in the treatment of trying to make things less painful or not painful at all during during sex for people. So diastasis recti usually does come along with it, but yes.
And you mentioned earlier that you measure it based on how many finger widths that you can place in there. So how many finger widths would you say is the start? So if I have 2 in there, do I have diastasis recti? How many?
So 2 finger widths is considered the baseline norm. So if you have 2 finger widths, you're within 2 finger widths, you're considered within a functional range. But if you didn't have 2 finger widths before, that's, then you would say clinically that, well, 2 finger widths is not normal. So you usually go by what you were before.
Okay.
But then anything over 2 finger widths would be too much. Yeah.
Definitely.
That would be classified as a diastasis recti.
Okay. Recti. So if you've closed it, let's say I was normally 1 and I went to 2 or 3. Once I got back to 1, would you say I'm healed?
Yeah, we would, as long as there were no other symptoms that were still happening.
Okay.
So once we closed the diastasis recti, if there were any other things that were going on, yes, we would hope that they went away.
Right.
We would say that you no longer have diastasis recti.
Correct.
But there may be other things that we need to work on still.
Yeah. Could you name some of the symptoms? I think I've named a few, right? The abs splitting, the back pain. Are there any other symptoms that they should look out for?
You also mentioned the coning, which I liked. That's a really easy one to see, and it's not just easy to see, but it's easy to self-assess. Just lie on your back, bringing your chin forward, and you're engaging the abs a little bit enough to see the cone. But other symptoms that would come along with it, you can think of things like pubic pain. Because of where the abs attach, they attach to the top of the pubic bone. So the area just above the vagina or the penis, that bony part, some people experience some pain there. So, and then as you mentioned, there may be some other pelvic floor symptoms because it's not getting that pressure support and control because the diastasis recti is there. So they may see, I'll just say, urinary changes. So it may not necessarily be incontinence where you cannot hold your pee. It might also be that your organs aren't lining up in a way where you can't get it out. That's a whole other not so fun thing that people will wind up dealing with that they come to me and we address. So.
Yeah, see, I didn't even think about it not coming out.
Yeah, if things don't sit correctly, the hoses can not line up right, and then
it stops. It's like a bend in the hose.
Yeah, exactly. don't park your car on the hose, on garden hose. So.
No tires on the hose. Okay. No. Well, thank you, Dr. Nick. If anyone is trying to find you and they live in the Atlanta area, how can they find you?
We have the Atlanta Physical Therapy symbol, a lot like the bat symbol. Just kidding. You can call me. It's 404-390-0255. You can visit my website. There's self-booking requests that people can do. It's physicaltherapyatl.com. They can email me. It's nick@physicaltherapyatl.com. I'm trying to keep it simple for everyone. You can visit me on Facebook, Instagram. I'm very open when it comes to communicating with people, and if they have questions too that are not necessarily my patients directly. So.
Excellent. So one of the questions I often get asked on my Instagram is moms that feel like they kind of have a ball down there, or they feel like there's something hanging, or their vagina feels heavy. Can you explain what's going on or why they feel that way?
Yeah, it's a really common symptom actually. I don't know who's listening right now, but if someone does feel that, typically it is a sign of what we would call a prolapse.
Okay.
And it's a fancy word for essentially saying that the organs above or in front of or behind the vagina are starting to collapse into the vagina. So they're still on the outside technically of the vagina, but they're falling into the vaginal wall and starting to come towards the opening and dragging the wall of the vagina with it towards the opening. I hope that's graphic enough for everyone.
Yeah.
But that is it, and it is very common. following childbirth because of the weakness that ensues after, and the weakness of not just the muscle but the nerves that go to the muscle to give the muscle life.
Right.
So that's something that I work on with people directly, trying to decrease that sensation, as well as the symptoms that come along with it. Definitely something you don't want to leave unaddressed.
Definitely. If you're feeling that bulge, it's time to see a professional. You can continue to do things on your own, but definitely, as Dr. Nick said, you definitely want to go see someone who specializes in that area, because prolapse is very serious and it can have very serious consequences. Would you say that prolapse is also a symptom of diastasis recti? Is that connected to it as well?
I would say that they don't always go hand in hand, but they can. If you think about what we talked about with pressure in the abdomen, and if we are holding our breath a lot chronically, that pressure doesn't just try to go this way or up and out, it pushes down.
Exactly.
So things start to kind of
go down.
Yeah, exactly. Down and out, and we don't want that.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Nick.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. We'll see you next time. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.